For many of us, at this point in our lives, we might be settled in a career path and accepted the fact that our hobbies are just, well, our hobbies. But have you ever wondered what it would be like to take a new path, even later in life, towards something that you've always loved to do? My guest today is a good friend who did just that. Here's his story. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this next episode of Cut the Small Talk. I'm excited today to sit down and talk to a good friend, someone who's recently decided to take a real plunge into exploring his passions and making a career out of that, which I think is amazing and very inspiring. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the show, Steve.
Hello. Yeah, it's nice to be here. I'm really excited to chat.
Yes, thank you for joining me. So I always like to start off knowing a little bit about what my guests were like when they were younger. So I'd love to know a bit more about who you were as a young kid and how that's reflected in your adult life, or if you've completely changed from when you were a kid.
Sure. That's a fun one. I think, when I was a little kid, I was really like gregarious. I was this like super excited, joyful kid. I was the life of the party, I guess. I would sing and dance all the time, and I was like hyper social. I would talk to anyone and run around. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so apparently I was like, by all accounts, like a very cute kid. Yeah. And that all changed. No, it didn't really change. But near the end of like elementary school, like as puberty sort of started to hit, I got very like shy and quiet, and I went to like the other end of the spectrum for a long time. Okay. But yeah, when I was a kid, and I wasn't the kind of kid who was like really passionate about anything, or I was just having a good time. It's a goofy kid.
Yeah. Were you like performing at all when you were younger?
A little bit. My best sort of young performance experience memory I have is in third grade we did a musical for our play, and we did some kind of version. I have no idea who made this version, but this version of Little Red Riding Hood. It was all like jazzed up,
Ooh.
and. Yeah, it was pretty cute. Somewhere around there's a VHS that's floating around with the families. I've never seen it, but I've heard it's pretty adorable. And I was the wolf in the production. Shit. I know, which I got, I think, through sheer enthusiasm. I've got like flash memories of just sort of like singing my heart out about it.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
My mom's still like, there's this cute, the main song I had was ooby dooby doo, oh, wolf gets hungry too.
My God.
I know, my mom still calls me sometimes and sings that.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that was like around third grade, and that was fun. Other than that, like when I was like that age, I didn't really, I just did school stuff, and I played like cello and piano at home, but I wasn't like touring around or anything.
Did anyone like push you to do that stuff, or you were just interested in it?
It was definitely a lot of music in my family. Both of my parents have somewhat of a background in music. My mom plays violin and viola. She doesn't play much these days, but she went to school for it. Her parents were both professional classical musicians.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was just around the house, and when I was young, they got me started. And it wasn't like I had like a pressure to. They weren't like go to school and get involved with the school play, and we're gonna like be helicopter parents or something. But it was just like present, and my mom was always sort of like guiding and teaching me stuff as I was learning with friends. So
that's really cool. It's like it's just a part of you that like almost had to come out.
Yeah, I think I'm lucky that I was around it when I was a kid, in some capacity, like it was mostly classical. We had some CDs, like we had like soul. It's like Aretha Franklin, Bob Dylan, like Buena Vista Social Club, just some like nice, like a wide range of music that was like in the house when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I think I was lucky to be around that and be encouraged to learn it. Because I think like it's pretty. I think most kids have some like natural musical urge.
Yeah.
And I was just in an environment where it was allowed to flourish.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's awesome. Well, I'd love to know a little bit about when you decided to study psychology, because I know that's the path that you kind of went down. So yeah, I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Long story short, I played classical music through like through school. I went to college for cello. That's why I moved to Boston in the first place.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was studying classical cello at BU, and I got 3 years into that degree, and then I burned out pretty hard, uh, and I stopped school. I stopped music for a while, and I just like worked around Boston for a few years,
Mm-hmm.
doing like service jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, After a few years of that, I was like finally at a place where I felt like I could sort of. It took me a while to sort of get moving again, and so I went back to school, finished up a psych degree. It was a fairly easy transition. It was a subject I was interested in, and
Mm-hmm.
b a fairly low resistance degree to get at that from that position I was in, from
Mm-hmm.
completing my partially completed degree.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then I was, lucky enough to get a pretty, you know, research oriented job after school through my degree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, so I went into that kind of with the intention of, if not, I wasn't sure about it, but I thought I wanted to go to get a master's in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Like a doctorate in clinical psychology was probably what was most relevant to my experience at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I mean, it was pretty late in life that I got to that stage anyway. I was probably like 20, oh, I don't know, 26, 25, 26 when I
Mm-hmm.
finished my bachelor's and I started working that job,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a bit older. And so a lot of time before that, I was just sort of like I don't know what I'm going to do. Like classical music wasn't quite a fit for me. I just, for whatever reason, it didn't work. And I don't know. So then psychology was something for me to grab onto and to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, and then during COVID, my job turned to remote, and it became very difficult for me to stay on top of everything. It was just and I had a really hard time adapting to remote work. It's
Yeah.
just not. I really need structure in the office and people to be around, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that stretched out for a long time. This sort of period where my job just sort of steadily got worse. And then until pretty much just in last summer when I left the job and
Mm-hmm.
really feeling like what the hell am I doing,
Yeah.
what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
uh, it's a pretty rough experience at the end there. And at first I was sort of, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to do psychology. Like, I do think, like, even if it hadn't been for COVID and everything, like it would be it would have been like a really huge challenge to get it. I mean, just like it is for anyone to get a clinical psych PhD, and it's like 7 years of your life, but it's, depending on the program you're in, it's just like it's a lot of work. It's very self-directed, and it's tough. So I'm not sure if that would have been the right fit for me anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
but with COVID sort of like sapping my momentum on that front, I never even got to the application stage.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, then I was well, oh, like, wow, like that really didn't work. That's like really depressing.
Yeah.
Uh, what I do now, like none of my options really seemed all that appealing. I was like, well, I don't really want to just like get like a random office job that'll take me to do paperwork or
Yeah.
something, like, not to say that there aren't good jobs out there like that, but I was just like nothing. I was like, well, I just had that office job thing and I really didn't work out. I don't want to do that. I don't want to work a service job. I already work at Starbucks for like 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, if I can help it, I don't want to go back there. And so, and then I sort of had the thought like, well, I've already been doing some music stuff on the side. Like I got a few students, I've been playing, guitar for a while, in a bunch of contexts. I've got some people I play with, just in like a friendly kind of way. I have some random gigs that pop up once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
What if I tried to make music like central in my life? Like what if just like I just made as big a percentage of my income from music and just try that and see what happens, like. And as soon as I had that thought, like I had like a flicker of like hope, I was like, oh,
Wow.
actually that sounds great. And like I was like really like, I let it stew for a little bit. I was kind of like thinking about it. I was just like putting out feelers to find more students.
Yeah.
I was just chatting people here and there, and then that sounds pretty cool actually.
Yeah.
Because for so long I've been playing music every day. Pretty much my whole life. The only thing I do every day, except from like shower, which isn't even that reliable, is like play guitar.
Every
uh,
single day?
pretty much. I mean, it's not like every day. Like, when I played cello, like this is something we can dive more into, like the difference between classical and like non-classical, and like playing
Yeah.
cello versus guitar. It's like a huge, huge difference. you know, it that generally felt like a work and an obligation for me. Like playing cello and like playing every day was like wow, you're so disciplined. You play every day, but this is just like fun. Like I'm like the guitar's right there. That's why I'm like pointing as it's like
Wow.
in the room. No, but I just like to do it. You know, it's just fun. You know, and that's how it's been ever since I started playing when I was like 11 or something.
Wow.
So I was like, well, you know what? Since I spend so much time on this anyway, why not just freaking, and I've been playing so long, I can kind of play, so like it just by
Yeah.
default. Uh, so yeah, I was like, okay, I was starting to get excited about it, and then one day I was like, okay, well, I guess I have to like set up a website or something.
Uh-huh.
So I started doing that, and then I like got like this like total manic energy and like went into this huge manic phase where I like did like 14-hour, did this website, boom, done. And then I was like, okay, let's do social media. Let's go into Instagram. And I just like,
What?
and
So
I
this
got
just
this like
all like came to you one day?
pretty much. Well, no, it was like, I guess it was like, it had been kind of building and then we kind of hit the point and moved over the point and just started, I was like, okay, and then just the dam broke loose or something. And
Wow.
because, well, I was really doing nothing besides like being unemployed and depressed. I was like, wow, my
Yeah.
life kind of, I was like, and then all of a sudden I had something to do, which was something I like to do. I was like, oh, I can make music for, it, I'm not very social media like savvy. I've kind of avoided Facebook for a long time. I never was really on Instagram.
Hmm.
I like Snapchat because it's like low commitment. you know, I'm like slightly social media phobic. So like getting into this was like, so I didn't really know what to expect going to Instagram. And so I went on there and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. There's a lot, like pretty much everyone that I like to listen to is on here. And
Yeah.
I get like a very unfiltered look at their lives and their music.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty cool. And like, there's just a
Wow.
million people on here making music.
Oh, I love
Uh,
that whole, I love that you said it's an unfiltered look at like their lives. That's a really like poetic, artistic line, but
yeah, it's not quite an unfiltered look. That was my
yeah,
initial reaction.
true.
Now that I've been on there for a few months, I'm like I feel a little more jaded with it. Like it's good, but
Mm,
I'm like, okay, it's not like the total like dream miracle I thought it might be.
yeah,
But it
true.
is freaking cool. And so yeah, so
Wow.
I made the website, and then that night I made the Instagram, and I was like, then for like a week or two afterwards, I was like sleeping just like I wasn't sleeping very much. I was like staying up late and waking up early and just like downloading Instagram. Just like, how does this work? I was like seeing uh, and yeah, and I started posting some stuff, and it was a lot of fun, and just a nice outlet. I before before that, I was like playing for friends, or I would like, maybe I put a recording together and put it on SoundCloud or share with a few friends, but my network was super tiny, and
Yeah.
as part of it, partially as a result of that, I didn't really know like where I stood in terms of my abilities, like what I was able to do, and like whether people would actually like my stuff outside of just
Your
people I know.
circle. Yeah.
Uh, and uh, and yeah, I mean, I've gotten a good response. It's been pretty nice. It's like now I can play stuff, and like first I've got to get to a level where I feel comfortable sharing with people. So that's a great just practice skill.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's nice just getting the validation. And so
Wow.
for so yeah, so for a couple months I was just like zoned into that, like posting almost every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been really gratifying. And
Wow.
it's pretty much done its job of being like a portfolio. That was kind of what I was thinking
Yeah.
about it. I was like, even if it doesn't, my initial thought was like, even if I only have like 5 people, including my mom, watch this, then at least it's something I can point towards and say, hey, I play guitar, check out these videos.
Yeah.
Uh, and then like the fact that I like, I've got followers is like a bonus. But
Wow.
through that, I've connected to, I like reconnect with a lot of old friends. I've connected to some new people.
Wow.
Yeah, including my friend Nick Brown, who's a really great clarinet player that I went to college with. He's
Mm.
been crushing it as a professional classical musician in Boston.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's got all these amazing projects, including this Boston Festival Orchestra he works on. That's like he works on. He helped. He's a co-founder of. Uh,
Wow. That's awesome.
Very cool. He's got all this cool stuff. Yeah, and it's amazing to see, and it's awesome to see. Someone I went to school with actually like making it.
Mm-hmm.
And we reconnected because of the stuff I was doing on Instagram.
Mm.
And first he asked me to play a Christmas gig, and I was like, oh, that's fun. I'll take some
Oh,
Christmas money. Yeah, why not? And
yeah.
it's a lot of fun. And then he connected me to this teacher position
Oh,
at
wow.
yeah, that I just started. At the New England Music and Performing Arts Center, NEMPAC.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was just I mean, it's so awesome that it worked out that way. I feel so grateful,
Hmm.
for his, for him putting himself out there a little bit,
Hmm.
and I'm just like psyched that this could happen. It's like suddenly the pieces are coming together in a way that you know,
Mm.
it couldn't have, I didn't necessarily expect it to happen this way. I could very easily
Hmm.
like not have the whole Instagram side of things, which is just, it's not income or anything, but it is like, it's just nice. It's like a fun activity. It's very morale boosting.
Yeah.
It motivates me a lot. Now I've got this teaching. I could very easily not have that not be working out.
Yeah.
But no, it's awesome. I'm just like thanking my lucky stars.
Oh my
Really.
gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot to unpack there for me. I have like a lot of things running in my mind. But I think the first thing that comes to mind is that like I'm very surprised that you said that it was like that you were not Instagram savvy because I was watching like the growth and I was like, damn, like he just made this Instagram and he's getting like all these followers and all these views and like so many great responses. And I wouldn't know that like you weren't an Instagram like person on the side. So like that's very surprising. Um, Also, I I really admire the fact that like you I don't know, I felt like you intuitively knew that like this was something that you were called to do. Because I think that like myself included, I find it hard to know when something isn't working for me. Like, I've definitely pushed myself past the point of like healthy, whatever. I don't even know how to like describe it with words, but like I've pushed myself beyond the point where I should have stopped. Um, and I feel like
Yep.
often really great things come from like, I hate the term rock bottom, but like I get propelled to do really great things after a rock bottom for me. Um, and it kind of seems like that might have been like the case for you. I mean, or not rock bottom, but like a dark place, you know?
No, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, well, I have the same kind of tendency, I think, where I'll stay in a bad situation for too long. Like
Yeah.
my last job, like I really could have left that earlier and it would have been better in a lot of ways,
Mm.
and I kind of knew that I wasn't the right thing at the time, but I was sort of staying the course.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing when I was doing classical cello. It was like, you know, I, in retrospect, I could have stopped that earlier and, had a
Mm.
less painful experience.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can relate to that. And I've had, a few experiences of sort of, yeah, I get, rock bottom. I thought about it as rock bottom before, it's at
Yeah.
least like, a place where you have to build because there's nothing else, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I think with this, I'm like super amped about it and I'm feeling very drawn to it. I don't know, in terms of the particulars, like how I structure that career, if it'll be if if it'll be the right thing for me overall. I really hope it is. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I could, I used to worry about trying to pursue a career with guitar because, when I did it with when I did classical music, like I didn't experience that much joy playing music. I did experience some, but like it became way more about like my work, about my ability, about career prospects, about got very much like my self-worth got wrapped up into that, and it became like a very negative thing for me. And like when I
Mm.
left school for that, I was like, I'm never going to play music again. I was like,
Oh shit.
I was like, I'm done. Like that was it. I'm like that was it. I failed. I'm a failed musician. Like boom.
Damn.
Yeah, this was like, I was a long time ago now, sort of. It was like 2014-ish.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, and then I had this period where I was just working like service jobs and I was just like figuring it out, like how to live in a city, actually be a sort of an adult,
Mm-hmm.
like without the
Mm-hmm.
school scaffolding,
Mm-hmm.
for the first time. And then through that time, I started picking up the guitar again. I've been playing throughout, but not very, it wasn't like a central focus for me. And it was so different. It was like, from what I was doing, it was like on my own terms. I was just like struck by the beauty of music all the time. I was like, these
Wow.
sounds coming out of this instrument are so freaking cool.
Wow.
And it was very personally meaningful. Like I was like, I wrote a bunch of songs during that time, which
Mm.
were very much like diary kind of songs,
Wow.
like distilling my thoughts in that moment into like into that thing, which I can still access now, which is super
Mm.
awesome. And I was just so, it was like my favorite thing to do at the time. I would just like, I'd be at work and I'd be thinking about this song I was writing, or I'd be like, you know, I like get a new song and I'd like text my friends and be like, hey, like listen to my new song. And I was super excited about it, but I had to that had to be predicated on the fact that there was no career expectations at all, or that I didn't have to share anything. I was like, I would tell myself explicitly, I'd be like you can write whatever you want right now because you don't have to share this with anyone. It can just be your own thing.
Mhm.
Um, so
Mm.
yeah, and that was kind of a rock bottom moment. It was a really big one actually. And that was sort of like where I first sort of rediscovered my love of guitar, and
Mhm.
and that sort of became something that was on, like I said, I guess on my own terms,
Mhm.
and that made it very special, and that stuck with me,
Hmm. What do you think is sustaining your like desire to keep going now that you have kind of turned the passion into like a career? Because now it's not just something that you, well, I mean, it is something you do for fun, but like it's a little bit beyond that now because you're making a living out of
Sure. Oh yeah. I mean, this is a question that I am answering like live right now. You know what I mean? Uh, 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 I think. I mean, it's something I'm a little concerned about, but like I guess breaking up into domains or whatever, like Instagram. Part of what's made that successful, not only like from like a follower perspective kind of thing, but like it's been like, be successful in like how I relate to music and how I enjoy doing it, is
it.
that I'm just playing stuff I want to play on there. Really, it's
Yeah.
like, I do have to like work myself up to like do some bigger projects on there if I want to, but I'm just like, it's what I would do in my room by myself
Mm.
anyway. But I'm just turning the camera on and putting on a line.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to play this blues riff today. I want to play this classical thing today. I want to play this. I'm gonna just screw around and make some random notes, and it's make it sound nice. So I think in that sense, like it, there's a grind element in that the stuff you put up has a very short shelf life.
Mm.
So you put a video up, even if you don't put something up afterwards, like for like a week, say you didn't, probably I wouldn't get many views or likes on it after like the second day. So it's
Mhm.
kind of already gone from the
Mhm.
algorithm.
Mhm.
And so there is kind of a grind element there where it's like, oh, if I want to keep, my head above water, or if I want to keep, eyes on me or whatever. But then I'm like what's the goal of Instagram? Like, why am I even on here? Like, it's not my
Mhm.
income. I would love to get like sponsorships to like be like, hey,
Mhm.
check out these strings, and never have
Mhm.
to pay for strings. That'd be
Mhm.
sweet.
Yeah.
But that hasn't happened yet. And until then, like, what really is the point aside from building a portfolio that I'm proud of, sharing music that I think is fun with people that I like, and then and that's pretty much it. I do have my social media person in my brain who's like, you got to go on, you have to like 200 people things today, then you got to unfollow 1,000 people, then you got to uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so in terms of that, it's been good. In terms of teaching, I mean, I love teaching, and like, one thing I've always done, probably because I've been like a lonely guitarist, is that if I have a friend or a friend of a friend, or I know someone who's like into music like a little bit, I'll like hone in on that, and I'll be like, oh, let's sit down and play guitar,
Yeah.
and that becomes like, I mean, depends on who the person is, but it becomes like sometimes becomes like a bit of a teaching scenario where it's like, hey, let me show
Mm.
you the stuff that I like, that you might think is cool to learn, and that's always been something I've been really drawn to. And when I've had like a successful relationship like that, it's been extremely fulfilling. I'm like,
Okay.
it's like, oh, I'm passing on my passion, my knowledge, the one thing that I'm really an expert at, I'm
Mhm.
passing on to people. That just feels awesome. It feels like I'm part of, I don't know, I feel like I'm part of a musical tradition. I feel like
Mm.
I'm like enabling other people to, access music in a way that I've been lucky enough to, that's my idealistic view on teaching. Getting into the nitty gritty of it, it's been really nice so far. I've got a bunch of friends of friends that I teach basically, and then like a
Mhm.
couple random. I've got this like 13-year-old kid who lives in the neighborhood who
Wow.
freaking rocks. She's so good, and it's been really really fun teaching her.
Wow.
yeah, so that's been great. I'll have moments, especially with with a student like that. I'll have moments where I'm sitting there teaching. I'm just like, wow, I'm like so happy right now.
Oh my
This just
gosh.
feels like so right. I'm just loving this. Just sitting them like
Wow.
telling them where to put their fingers. It's just like it just feels so good.
That's awesome.
It makes me think back to my old guitar teacher when I was in like middle school, who introduced me to all kinds of music. Like he burned the Dark Side of the Moon CD for me,
Mm,
and all lots of other stuff too. And before him, I really only knew like I don't know, I just didn't know much music. I knew like the Beatles hits and Beach Boys greatest hits and
mhm,
some stuff we had around the house, but it wasn't like now where you have social media and the internet, Spotify. It was like
mhm.
you straight up didn't know where to. I mean, we're so old, we grew up in the '90s. We're the young ones, but
Yeah.
you straight up didn't know like how to find new bands. It was like word of mouth and like, and if you're a kid in the suburbs, you're not exactly going to the record store and chatting with all the
Right.
record. Uh, and so yeah, so this guy introduced me to a ton of music, and it was a great teacher. The stuff that I'm teaching now to beginners is like just like directly ripped from what he taught me. Because
Wow.
as I got older and I like started to consolidate some of the information that I learned over the years, I realized that like he really taught me like everything I needed to know, like in like foundationally. And so I'm just super grateful for that guy. And so when I teach now, I think back to that. I feel very like I feel very connected to that experience. Being a student when I was a kid and
Yeah.
and just loving it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. And that
Um,
student is going to be so cool because they're going to know so much like cool old music.
oh yeah, like John Mayer.
Yeah,
Can you
like
believe
John
that
Mayer.
John Mayer's old? Oh my God.
But then they're going to be like, yeah, because my teacher taught me all this cool music.
Seriously, yeah. If students I have like 10% of like the appreciation that I have for my old teacher, like that would really mean something to me. Uh,
Wow.
uh, yeah, so that's good. I'm not teaching quite enough where I'm like on the grind yet, and I'm feeling like burnt out by it. That could happen. And now that I have this new teaching job, so I mean, it's pretty cool. There's two legs to it. One is that I'm going to be doing group lessons with
Okay.
6 and 7 year olds,
Oh,
five at a
wow.
time. Yeah, I just had my first one yesterday,
How was it?
and it was good. It was pretty much what I expected in that the kids were incredibly cute. The place is like a great facility and is run super well. Everyone I met was awesome. Uh, and like the teaching guitar, I definitely have to learn, how to scale stuff to like a 6 year old's level. Like what can they
Mhm.
learn? What can I rate? That's going to be an ongoing process, but that went pretty well. You know, what I knew would be a challenge, and it was, is sort of the controlling the chaos of the classroom. Working with
Mm,
kids, that whole skill set, how to how to make that, how to keep order in a classroom, and how to communicate with kids in a way that's productive, and all that.
how are you learning that?
Well, so far by doing, I had my
Okay.
first I had my first lesson, and yeah, the kids were great, but there was a lot of talking over. One or
Yeah.
two kids in particular were kind of off in their own little world, and it was a little hard to manage. And one of the other teachers observed me, and at the end, she said that she recommended that I start doing like setting like ground rules and like
Oh, okay.
incentives and disciplinary stuff in there. So that's gonna be part of it. I'm the sort
Mhm.
of like temperamental spectrum. I'm like such a pushover. Like I'm
Oh.
not at all. Like I can't even like train a dog. So like
Oh
I
my
like so
God.
like I'm gonna need to really put some effort in to sort of tip that balance.
Yeah.
Uh, but but so far it's a really exciting, fun experience. I'll also be doing some private lessons through them.
Oh,
So
cool.
hopefully I'll have a pretty full plate with teaching coming up. And
Wow.
then I'm sure I mean a job's a job. Not every day is going to be bliss.
Mhm.
But but I think the way I see it now, like even that if that becomes a grind, it becomes challenging, and if I have a hard time with some of the kids
Mhm.
or whatever, then at least I'm doing something I really care about. And if I
Yeah.
stop caring about it, then I'll figure that out then.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so happy that you have this opportunity. It seems like a such a great fit for you.
And it's a huge piece of the puzzle coming into place in terms of how
Yes.
this career is going to work.
Yeah,
Because I really don't
absolutely.
know, like I guess my goal now is to like make rent. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, and so far that's actually not so bad with the teaching. It actually pays pretty well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So early days, but promising.
Wow. It's really interesting, and I think probably will be helpful for people that are trying to like make a career out of their passion to hear that like there is a world where you can make it happen. And it kind of sounds like, you know, a key ingredient for, I guess, what's making it successful is that like it seems like connection is like a big value for you, and being able to teach music and not just, I don't know, do music or perform music seems to be really important because you're like forming this bond with people that can like, I don't know, last forever.
Totally. And music is such a social thing. Like
Yeah.
if you want to go down that road, you can probably say that like the evolutionary roots of music are that it's a social endeavor. Like how do you
Mm,
groom people en masse when you have big crowds, in the savannah
mm,
or whatever, you
mm-hmm.
you like you hum or something, and really, or you play
Wow.
some drums, and that's like
Ooh.
deeply ingrained in us, like rhythm, you know, rhythmic things, it doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from like a really interesting and totally vague, and I don't know anything about it. Neither does anyone else really, vague path of how music like evolved with us. But yeah, it's primarily social. And so like being able to share with other people is awesome. Playing by yourself in a room, there's value to it. It's awesome. Personal expression, blah, 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 and even if you're playing by yourself, you're not really ever, this sounds so cheesy. But if you play by yourself, you're never really playing alone because you're playing as part of a tradition. You're
Oh,
playing music
yeah.
either written by someone else or comes from somewhere else, or like
Wow.
we're all part of the. So yeah, I know. I mean, I definitely have some like I'm not like a religious person, but sort of like the oh, that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
music is a flowing thing, blah blah blah.
Wow.
It's a beautiful thought.
Yeah. Um, wow, okay. So we're nearing towards the end. I love how like this flowed in so many different directions. But I'd love to know if you have any advice for other people that want to take a plunge into a career change or want to turn their passion to a career, but are too afraid to even take one first step towards that.
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess I can really only talk to my own experience,
Mm-hmm.
speak my own experience, and I mean, for me, I sort of, because of the whole rock bottom thing we talked about, and like the way that things turned out, I was sort of in a position where getting into it was like the only option that like made me happy, and so it was fairly straightforward in that sense. But I think that starting off in a sort of low stakes medium like social media and using that to like build my confidence and also broaden my perspective, because like see, one thing about being on social media too is you're seeing all these people who are making it. Like they exist, they're in the world, they're right there. You can see it on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't look, then it's like you don't even, you have no idea what it's actually like to be a professional in whatever field you're looking at. You
Mm-hmm.
just sort of have this vague idea.
Mm-hmm.
But getting into social media, in a way that was like, it was sort of like it was a coming out experience, but it was also kind of like
Mm-hmm.
an exploratory experience. Like learning a lot more about this world as mediated by this fantastic technology we have. So I'd say that. I'd say on the other side of things, just making things that you care about on a personal level. If if you're, like I play songs that I write. I play songs by artists that I love and admire. Uh, I it's I just like, and I just choose to play things that I like, and that have some kind of personal significance, I guess,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think keeping that, keeping something that's like true to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the whole point, like
Mm-hmm.
if you're, I don't know, I like, not to say like if I got a gig where I'm playing like something that I don't personally relate with very well, like I won't put the work in, I won't enjoy it on some level, but it's not why I'm waking up in the morning, it's not what
Yeah.
I'm doing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I'd say that.
Wow, I love that. Those are two great pieces of advice. And lastly, for people that want to follow you or maybe even work with you to either learn how to play guitar or better their guitar skills, where can they find you?
Oh yeah, well, you can find me on Instagram at Steve Allen Guitar. That's Allen Guitar, all one word. Or you can find me on my website, and I can't believe I got this domain, steveplaysguitar.com.
What? That's
I know,
amazing.
I know. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So steveplaysguitar.com, Steve on guitar on Instagram. That's pretty much where I'm active right now.
Awesome. Okay, I'll link those in the show notes. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's all I got.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. I had a great time chatting.
Thank you guys for making it to the end of the episode. I had a really fun time catching up with Steve and learning about his journey to doing something that he loves. I hope this inspires anyone who's looking to take a leap themselves onto a different path. And for anyone that wants to start playing guitar or enhance their existing skills, please check out Steve's website. And that's at steveplaysguitar.com. Seriously, such a great domain. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you have an amazing week. And till next time, stay human, stay kind, and happy connecting. Bye. Do, 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 do.